Cool Carney, my buddy, my friend. It's been too long, man.
It
Like
has.
you've
That's
been. I
because
feel like you've been very busy.
I am just waiting for the Dan Sefer to call me. I feel like every time you call me, I'm available, but you don't call me anymore because you have important people to talk to.
Well, no, we're taking care of some growing pains at our site,
That
and
that sounds like a good
uh,
thing.
it's good. Yeah, it just requires a lot of energy.
Yeah,
You know, if you
yeah.
don't put energy into
You,
it, and entropy wins. This is
you got
the spoiler alert.
always to pursue patient enrollment. What do you think, Dan,
So,
as a
is the
site owner?
plaque? So, I'm guessing the plague of a site owner.
Oh, I thought plaque as in like lives and dies by being by patient enrollment. Like, is
Either
that
way.
the
Oh, okay. Maybe. Is the plaque of a site owner always to pursue patient enrollment to optimize earnings before interest, depreciate? Well, EBITDA is wrong. Earnings before interest, depreciation,
No, that's
taxes,
right.
amortization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
What do you think, Mr. Site Owner? Actually, can I give you my
No.
uninformed opinion
Yeah.
on this, and then you
Yes.
tell
Give me
me
your
what your perspective is? I
sure.
would say, generally speaking, yes. However, it's only one half of the equation because
Mhm.
patient enrollment first starts with study participation. So, how good are your connections to get the right studies? And then on those studies, what kind of margin do you have? You can't live, revenue is ego, and margin is
Mm.
reality. So, if you have a study where you have no margin, patient enrollment is the only thing that's going to get you something. But if you can get margin, you've got a better fighting chance. What's your take from an actual site owner perspective?
So yeah, from actual side owner perspective, I think we're not charities, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, if we were, we would be structured differently and get different benefits.
Mhm.
Um, I do think revenue is the name of the game. I do think it is vanity, but I think revenue is the first raw ingredient you need in order to form proper EBITDA. Like you're not going to form EBITDA if you have a revenue issue. You can't optimize EBITDA if you have an issue with your top line sales, right? You can optimize
Mhm.
it after. I think the first problem for most sites is how do we get
That's fair.
revenue increased, right? And the first problem for most sites is we don't have enough revenue coming in. And you can't fix that as easily as you can fix EBITDA. Like with EBITDA, you can make, I don't like making cuts. I'm a spender. Doge would have killed me if I was a government entity. Um, we save that for later.
Mhm.
Darshan, I know. Don't get too heated, man. I know. Relax, Darshan. Uh, but you can optimize that, but a lot easier than you can than you can tweak revenue. Revenue is pretty binary. It's like, are you either gonna get a study and randomize patients, or are you not? And then EBITDA is more who's gonna do the workflow. How are you gonna streamline it? How are you gonna make this consistent? How are you gonna lower those costs? That's different to me. But revenue is more the foundation. So I would say
So what
no
determines revenue in your opinion?
randomizations.
So not
And
the actual enrollment, because technically you do have site initiation and everything that goes along with it.
yeah, those are like bonuses. Like, and we're getting better. And this is where we optimizing EBITDA to Chinedu's point. Shout out to Chris, who does our contracts and budgets. He's been doing it for 15 years for different sites. He's always learning ways to get more on the startup side. Like we've realized recently that there's money on the table we're leaving from the startup, right? But that's bonus. Like you don't take a study just to get the startup revenue. You take the study presumably because it's good for your community, your PI likes it, and you can enroll patients in it. Those three things, right? That's it. Because if it's not good for your community, the backlash is going to come. Oh, well, these guys just take any study just to enroll people. You know, you're strengthening that guinea pig stigma, which ultimately poisons your future patient database. So you want a good reputation. RPIs actually care what studies we're bringing. But EBITDA can be optimized later. That's downstream from revenue, and revenue is you not making money besides the startup fees, which I consider bonus if you're not randomizing, and you don't have a site if you can't randomize patients. Period. You shouldn't have a site if you can't randomize patients. So yes, I would say yes, Chinedu, but it's not to optimize EBITDA, it's to optimize revenue. That's my take on this.
Fair enough. That's a fair position. Uh, Um, is that responsive, Chinedo?
I hope so. Chinedo, keep us posted.
Keep us
Let me know
posted.
your thoughts. Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of site owner appetite out there.
Do you think there are more site owners now than there were before? Or do you think you're getting fewer
Yeah,
site owners?
no, we're getting more. It's going to be harder soon for sites, independent sites, to be successful independently.
Why?
But we're in the golden era. It's going to be because of consolidation. The site networks are going to make it harder. The environment's going to get more competitive. Sponsors are going to demand more for less. Ultimately, these are deflationary forces, like driving costs down. But we're not there yet. But I think by the end of the next 10 years, I think we're in a golden age for sites. And I do think it ends with consolidation. We only have something like 15% of all sites are a site network. I think at the end of this decade, it's going to be closer to half. And when that happens, it's harder to get. And the other half are going to be like the farm system, like a new doctor gets started in Boise, Idaho, and really he or she is just building a site so they could exit to a site network. Like it's just a farm system for the site networks. That's what I predict. And I'm trying to get ahead of that curve with UMA clinical trials by building a site network independently, and then maybe PE comes later. But I realized we don't actually need the PE at this stage. Like if we can get our multiple of EBITDA to 15 to 18, if it all it takes is like 3 or 4 sites doing 10 to 15 studies each, I don't think we need money for that. I think you can do that organically if you know what you're doing. And then you bring the money. Because otherwise, you're looking at a multiple of like 5 to 8 as opposed to.
It all depends on EBITDA and what your total EBITDA is.
And the EBITDA can be tweaked. And trust me, guys and gals and Chinedu, when the private equity gets involved, they will tweak EBITDA. You don't need to
They
worry
will.
about it. That even
You
if
have
you
to live
think
with
you've
it.
tweaked it, yeah, even if you think you've tweaked it, they will tweak it more. That's their I mean, that's what they're trained to do. They go to Wharton and all those fancy places to learn all these levers.
Great.
We go to not Wharton, we go to School of Hard Knocks. And Darshan's
Uh,
adjunct professor too.
um. So yeah. So to me, um, I think that there will probably land up being more sites. I think it's an interesting perspective you raise, which is I think the definition of a site will change. I Whether we're talking about pharmacists, whether we're talking about um, what do you call it, patients directly, I expect that we will see more of that. Um, I'm I'm curious, and I don't know the answer to this question: is will the physician remain the center point, or will site owners get higher control than PIs? I'd say like 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, the PI really controlled what happens with a site. But I
Yeah.
think that recently I'm seeing this entrepreneurial blend of owners, more like yourself, who has more power. And I would argue that in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see more of that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there's an element of the business people are taking over the industry. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think that depends on your perspective. It's like
And
clinicians, it's like doctors, and they are
yeah,
always complaining. that you know what the CFO or the CEO runs my company, and it's not about the practice of medicine.
Right. Or when they work at hospitals, right? Hospital
Exactly.
systems, like we're told how to practice medicine from people that have MBAs,
Right. Right.
and don't know
Exactly.
how to practice medicine.
But
Yeah,
the
I mean, all roads tend to lead towards that. If you look at other sectors of healthcare, so clinical research is like kind of the last frontier, really. But if you look at hospitals, if you look at private practices, like the last wave of roundups with private equity, that is exactly what happened. Is the business people got control, and this is where, I mean, who's the loudest complainers in these scenarios? It's the patients, man. I mean, hey, our town is run by this large health system. They could care less. They're a monopoly. What they're doing is squeezing out the mom and pops. I I think research is unique in the sense that it's not required for a town's citizens. Like it's kind of like an added benefit. Um, I think for certain things it's bordering on a requirement, like for oncology and life-saving conditions. It's beyond nice to have research options. But if you're talking about like general medicine, like you want to test the next obesity drug, to me that's more of a luxury than a requirement for healthcare in the community, right? Despite the rhetoric you'll see on LinkedIn of right to try and research as a care option and all that nonsense, I don't think that is the way research is. I think we get into, and you would probably agree with me, you get into a lot of trouble potentially when you start treating research as a care option and not separate from an experiment, which
So I
ultimately it
actually
is.
agree with you as a lawyer. As a lawyer, I
Yeah,
100%
I
agree that
knew it, man. I learned
yeah.
something from you.
No, because I think if you knew that it's a good care option, then it's not you're not actually experimenting anymore. In which case, you defied the whole problem with research. The problem I face is when now as a patient, the truth is that you do land up in a scenario where you go, I don't like my care options, and the option of I don't know what is better than the option of I do know what. So
Sure, sure, of
in which
course.
case, is it still a care option? Or are we defining the word care differently in that
Well, you're
context?
talking generally about urgent matters like progressive cancers,
No,
things
I'm
that,
actually talking about chronic matters, like a diabetes might be an
okay,
option.
well, that's different.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm talking about, in my case, I'm talking about things like NASH or MASH
Okay.
now is what it's called.
Okay.
Um, like you're
Interesting.
going, I don't because of insurance reasons, because of the fact that there's only one drug on the market. I'm not sure that this is the only thing I want to pursue. If that's true,
Okay.
what are my
Okay.
options?
Okay. I
But
mean,
but
interesting.
it's very interesting seeing different perspectives on this. I know Goldman, for example. Shout out to Robert Goldman,
Oh yeah, he
but
made the news recently. They got some positive news out of their Australia. Somebody reached out to me and said, "Is this the Robert we know?" I'm like, "Of course, man. That dude
I
is up to big
didn't see that.
things."
He's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
exactly my response to the text. Actually, it's funny you
uh,
say that.
but no, I'm happy. I'm happy when my friends do well. Um, but my point overall is with one of the things you got to admit about Robert is he's very much the OG. And what I mean by that is he's like, I'm going to do a clinical trial as the sponsor. I'm going to go be a subject. I'm going to go
Mhm.
actually be a site monitor. I'm going to go be a coordinator. And
Yeah,
he's trying to go through as many roles as possible to get a true understanding of how this works.
a true generalist, if I
Yeah.
may.
Yeah. So my point there is I get to sit in this ivory tower and I get to go, oh, this is where like how this is how things should work. And reality is different.
Yeah, reality's messy, and then when you bring in private equity, and the goal is, like
Yeah.
Chinedu said, EBITDA. I mean, That's the first thing they think about. They actually look at these opportunities and say, I already know Dan is a free spender and he's
Yeah.
still putting up these numbers. Imagine when we get in there, what we do when we squeeze,
Right. Right.
more. And that's where, like, generally a founder like me is like, okay, cool, guys. I got my exit. I'm going to just,
But you
get out.
can't exit. You
Yeah,
can't exit in those scenarios.
you have your time. You have to
You
put
have
in
no,
your,
you have to eat a lot to make that happen. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah. You gotta be
and
humble too. Like there's new people telling you what to do. I think
yeah,
founders struggle with that when they're the last, they don't take it generally orders from anyone.
right,
And not because I'm arrogant, but it's because it's my business. Like I've never
right.
had to actually
You
do
grew
that.
the baby, and now someone's
Yeah.
telling you how to raise it.
I'll take orders from a sponsor. I'll take orders from my PIs. I'll take orders from my staff. But
Yeah,
I'm not going to take order from an outsider stakeholder that's into this for financial arbitrage.
yeah.
Unless we agree on some exit plan, and you know what? I
So,
did my part because our time is finite.
so that's interesting you say that because I think that a lot of people would agree with you. Um, the and this I lined up advising a lot of my clients. I'm actually advising two of them right now
Yeah,
on
give your
this stuff.
plugs, man. People don't know. People see you and they don't know what the hell you do. They Here's what, from my perspective, sites see you as inaccessible, man, because like
You
they see
think?
you. Well, your moniker is FDA lawyer. Like you seem like just priced out of their league. Like you're actually, if you come to SOS, you'll see Darshan is for the people. He's a man for the sites.
I
Just
do try to work with the
quick,
sites as much as
quick
possible.
plug, man, for
Thank you.
your services for the sites.
Thank you. Um, no, I think, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And you can just follow me on kulkarnilawfirm.com if you go to the website, or you can find me on LinkedIn.